Hello everyone, welcome back to Science and Sci-Fi. A little while ago I did a video deconstructing our concept of what is real, and I thought that's not a good place to leave it hanging. So I decided to do a follow-up video where I construct back up a new concept of what is real. And as a reminder, I am not a philosopher, I'm just a guy who thinks too much on the internet, so take everything you hear in this video with a grain of salt. The first thing to keep in mind is reality is not a concept, it is something that is itself, which makes it very hard to talk about because we talk using concepts. So I want to start by noting the difference between the concept of reality and reality itself, and that everything I talk about in this video will be one tiny step removed from reality itself, just because it's impossible to talk about anything without using concepts. So let's start out with a definition of reality. It's commonly said that reality is what doesn't go away when you stop believing in it. So to a first approximation, this is how you could react to something that doesn't exist. Not gonna believe it, not gonna believe it, not gonna believe it, not gonna believe it. It's gone. And this is how you would react to something that does exist. Not gonna believe it, not gonna believe it, not gonna believe it. Ouch! Now of course that's not always true, because not all things that exist affect you. Many things that exist affect other people. And it makes sense to consider things that exist that affect nobody, or things that exist that affect us in ways that we don't realize. So let's start what we can know with absolute certainty. One thing that you can know that exists absolutely is your own consciousness. The fact that you are perceiving and experiencing. Maybe what you experience is an illusion, but the fact that you are experiencing something is a fact that is real. By extension, it is safe to assume that other consciousness exists that you don't have access to. The consciousness of other people, for instance. Consciousness of animals. And maybe the consciousness of other things that we don't know about yet. Secondly, if we talk about things that don't go away when we stop believing in them, we get consequences. Consequences are real. They exist. We observe patterns in the phenomena that we perceive. We see not only consequences, but causes of those consequences. So it is an assumption, but it is another safe assumption that consequences are a subsection of cause and effect. And cause and effect are real. What's more, there are consistent causes that lead to consistent effects. Therefore, we can conceptualize the processes that drive cause and effect as forces. So in our list of things that do exist, we have consciousness, cause, effect, and the forces that drive cause and effect. Now at this point, you might expect me to argue in favor of scientific materialism, especially given my physics background. However, that assumption would be wrong. Materialism is a worldview, and scientific theories are theories. They're models. Science, especially physics, is very good at writing descriptions that predict the effects of causes. But they are only descriptions. They are concepts. And remember, reality is not a concept. Which means materialism, even scientific materialism, physicalism, is just a perspective. One perspective out of many. Not reality itself. Now we do get into a little bit of blurry territory here because there are some things that go away when you stop believing them, but nevertheless still act as forces of cause and effect. For instance, your own beliefs motivate what you do. Your beliefs cause you to act the way you do. If you stop believing your beliefs, they go away. What you believe may or may not be true, but the fact that you believe it is true while you are believing it. Therefore, beliefs are real. Not the things that are believed necessarily, but the fact that we have beliefs. What else exists? Well, presumably reality as a whole. Either the universe in its entirety, or the multiverse if there is a multiverse. Whatever encompasses the totality of existence, it exists. What about the things inside the universe? What about tables and houses and electronic devices and people? Well, we talked about this in an earlier video. Objects are what we define them to be. If we draw a boundary around something and say this is an object, that's all that an object is. Objects are social constructions. That doesn't mean they don't exist. It means that we agree that they exist, therefore they function in the human world, in the world of cause and effect, as if they exist. If we all agree to call this a book, then it functions in the human world as if it is a real book. If we were to call it, I don't know, firewood, please don't, this is not firewood, but if we were to all agree that this is firewood, then it would function in the human world as if it were real firewood. That's how social constructs work. If we all agree on the boundaries between objects, then those objects function in the human world as if they are real. But that's only because we all agree to perceive them that way. Take, for instance, the political controversial subject of gender. If everyone agrees that there are only two genders, then there are only two genders, because it's a social construct. However, if we agree that there can be more than two genders, or that it's a spectrum instead of two discrete boxes, then there are more than two genders. When this argument comes up, it's not about truth, it's about power. It's about who gets to control the social narrative. If you want to argue in terms of truth, the truth is that gender and all objects and categories are social constructs, and they can be changed. For a less contentious example, we can talk about planets. Does Pluto count as a planet, or does it not count as a planet? The answer is, it is whatever we agree it is. And for astronomers who work best with functional operational definitions, it makes sense to categorize Pluto with all the other dwarf planets in the solar system, rather than with the 8 large objects that orbit the sun. So in summary, there is one thing that exists and is real. It is your consciousness. It is cause and effect and the forces that drive them. It is the universe as a whole, and it is social constructs when we all agree that they exist. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.